Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to, cut through the noise and get straight to the real insights. And today, we're starting something really special. It's the beginning of a much longer journey. Episode 1 of what's going to be, I think, an extraordinary exploration. We're looking at timeless wisdom. And for this whole series, we're drawing heavily from, these amazing conversations with Iranian philosophers, people like Dr. Ibrahim Dinani and Dr. Ismail Mansouri Larijani. Now, we've done our best to translate and bring their ideas to you, but just a quick heads up, a disclaimer really, this is a translation. Some details, some nuances, especially from the original Farsi, might get a bit lost or interpreted along the way. We apologize in advance if anything isn't perfectly conveyed. Our goal is always to capture the authentic spirit, the essence of what they shared. So to really set the mood, to give you a feel for where we're headed, listen to this verse. It just captures the mystical heart of it all.
In the midst of the soul, yet the soul unaware of you. The world full of you, yet the world unaware of you. Your memory in thought, yet thought deprived of you. Your name on the tongue, yet the tongue unaware of you. Wow. I mean, that really pulls you in, doesn't it? And it perfectly introduces our focus today. Faridoddin Abu Hamid Mohammed Attar Nishapuri. Just Attar. He was this towering figure in Persian mystical poetry. So influential, so enigmatic, that even other great thinkers, masters in their own right, were just astonished by him. So our mission today, in this first deep dive, is to explore why. Why is Attar held in such high regard? What are some of the core ideas? And what makes him so captivating? But, let's be honest, sometimes pretty challenging. Let's dive in. When I first started looking into Attar, the thing that really struck me was the reaction of the scholars. These are serious academics, people who've spent their lives studying this stuff, and they express this sheer wonder almost. Perplexity, it's rare. Take Dr. Zarankub, usually very measured, right?
But in his book, The Sound of Samara's Wings, talking about Attar's masterpiece, Mantiq al-Tor, the Conference of the Birds, he basically says, our era is incapable of grasping some of its nuances. Imagine that. He suggests only the future might fully get it. He called the composition masterful and intelligent, noting this deep literary structure mixed with just ardent passion.
Yeah, it's that combination that's so powerful, the structure and the fire.
Exactly. And he wasn't alone. The late Fruzanfar, another major scholar, he echoed that, said Attar belongs to a future era, that a lot of his expression just does not align with our present. And Dr. Shafi'i Katkani, too, in Zaburi Parsi, he stressed how incredibly difficult it is to understand Mantiq al-Tor and Attar's other works, unless you're really inside Attar's specific way of thinking, his framework. Katkani even put Attar up there as one of the 3 absolute peaks of Persian literature, alongside Sanai and Rumi. Think about that company. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? This collective awe. I even felt it reading your own work. In Daftar-e Akolo Ayati Eshq, you express a similar kind of amazement.
Oh, absolutely. And what's really fascinating is this isn't just modern scholars looking back. Attar's greatness, the sheer scale of it, it stunned even people like Rumi. Rumi himself, that famous line Rumi has, Attar traveled the 7 cities of love while we are still in the bend of one alley.
Right, I know the one. It's incredibly humility from Rumi.
It is. It's Rumi saying, look, Attar reached depths, explored spiritual realms that even someone like me, I'm still just starting out compared to him, it shows the immense respect, the awe. No, I absolutely agree. Attar is profound. That awe is justified. But I do take slight issue with this idea that only future generations can understand him.
Oh, interesting. What's your take then?
Well, I think those who understand have always existed, and they are always few. It's not really about time passing, about some future mass enlightenment. It's about a specific kind of understanding. To really get Attar, especially works like Mantiq al-Tor or Musibat-Nameh, which is less famous maybe, but incredibly powerful, a really tragic work in a deep sense. And his prose work, Tadkira al-Awliya, The Lives of the Saints, full of these karamat, these miracles or extraordinary acts. To understand these, you need to be familiar with what we could call the logic of the saints. The Mantiq al-Awliya.
The logic of the saints, so not our everyday logic.
Not at all. It's not rational in the conventional sense. It's intuitive, experiential. It often seems paradoxical or impossible to the ordinary mind. That's why the karamat, the miracles in Tadkira al-Awliya, are so challenging for people who aren't attuned to that way of seeing. They seem unbelievable outside that framework.
Okay, so if it's this rare attunement, this logic of the saints, that unlocks Attar, how does that mean for us, for you listening? What is it about his work that's so magnetic, yet feels just out of reach sometimes? And what are the insights he offers if you do approach him with that seeking spirit? Maybe we can start with one of his central themes, the concept of unity of being, what thal wujud, He's considered a master at expressing this
Right.
type, especially in Mentik Altir.
Absolutely. What that al-wujud, it's fundamental. You could say it's an absolute principle in mysticism. I mean, if someone calls themselves a mystic but denies unity of being, well, you should probably hear it and not quite believe it. It's that foundational. And Attar, his way of illustrating it in Mentik Altar is just unparalleled. The literary skill, the mystical depth, it's all there.
So tell us about the story, the allegory.
Okay, so picture this. Birds. From all over the world, every kind imaginable, they gather together. They're looking for a king, a legendary king named Sinmorg. His home is supposed to be on the mythical Mount Kaf, far away.
Sounds like a quest.
Oh, it's more than a quest. The journey is incredibly dangerous. Attar describes it as crossing a perilous fiery sea. You know, Hafez talks about 100 fiery seas. It evokes that same sense of immense trial. And many birds, they don't make it. They perish from the hardship, hunger, sheer exhaustion. It's an incredibly difficult path, a test.
So who reaches the end?
Ah, the climax. After all these trials, this immense suffering and effort, only 30 birds arrive at Mount Kaf, just 30. And Attar writes, Falam yara ila simorg, which means they saw nothing but 30 birds.
Wait, so Seymour means 30 birds in Persian, doesn't it?
Exactly, that's the genius of it. The Seymour they were seeking was 30 birds. Seymour. They saw themselves, but not as 30 separate birds anymore. They saw themselves unified as one entity. That is the Seymour.
Wow, so the goal was the realization of their own unity.
Precisely. That's the heart of the book. And it ties directly into that famous, sometimes controversial declaration by Mansur Hallaj and al-Haq, I am the truth or I am God.
Right, which got Hallaj into a lot of trouble.
It did. But it's crucial to understand what Hallaj meant and how it differs from, say, a pharaoh claiming divinity. Hallaj Ana al-Haq comes from a state of Fana annihilation of the self. He doesn't see himself anymore. The individual ego is gone. All he sees is the truth, is God. The I has dissolved into the divine.
Okay, so it's about losing the self, not asserting it.
Exactly. Whereas a pharaoh saying, I am God, comes from pure ego. It's self-aggrandizement. It keeps the separate I front and center. And that is considered disbelief, kufr. Attar's Simorg story just beautifully illustrates Hallaj's state. The 30 birds, united by their journey, they're seeking their realization. They embody the divine unity they sought. The truth wasn't out there on Mount Kaf. It was realized within them, as them, together.
That really shifts things, doesn't it? The idea that the ultimate truth, the goal of our searching, might actually be, well, within us, not something separate we have to find out there. How does that change the way you approach your own journey, your own life? And this connects, I think, to another really deep point in Attar, his view on human identity. He says something like, whoever is satisfied with his self-definition has not known himself. He sees humanity as this mysterious, unknown personality. There's something incredibly freeing, but also maybe a bit unsettling about that idea.
Oh, definitely. It's a core mystical insight, and interestingly, you find echoes of it in some corners of existentialism, too. The idea is that humans, unlike other things in creation, we don't have a fixed essence, a mahia. What we have is pure existence, wujud.
Okay, unpack that a bit. Essence versus existence.
Right. Think about an apple tree. It has an essence. It's an apple tree. It grows apples. Its potential is defined by its nature. Same for, say, a bird. Its essence is fixed. But a human being, from the moment you're born until your very last breath, you're an open question. You're pure possibility. You can't definitively say this is who they are or this is what they will become. Someone can change completely, turn 180 degrees at any moment. Their potential isn't fixed like the apple trees.
So we're constantly in flux, constantly becoming.
Exactly. Mystics say humans have no end limit, no hadiyaf. There's no fixed point where you arrive and say, okay, that's it. That's what a human is. The journey of becoming doesn't even stop at death. Remember Hafez. After death, beyond annihilation, there are 10 dangers. The journey continues. This endless potential, this lack of a fixed definition, is why humans are seen as pure existence. We're not defined by a preset blueprint. We are defined by our continuous journey of becoming.
That's a really powerful thought. The idea of an infinite evolving self. How does that change how you think about your purpose, about personal growth? Especially when the world around us seems so focused on labels and putting everyone in a box. So if we are this open possibility, this journey, how does Attar say we reach the divine? You mentioned the Simorg was found within.
Yes. Attar is very clear. The path is inward, always inward, through self-knowledge.
Not outward searching.
Absolutely not through outward searching alone. Trying to find God by, crossing deserts, sailing seas, even just by building philosophical arguments externally. Attar would say, that's futile. You'll reach nowhere from outside. The real journey, the only one that leads to the truth, is within. It requires diving deep into what he calls the sea of the soul, the Barijan, plunging into your own inner depths. And when you truly immerse yourself in that inner ocean, eventually you connect with the source, the sea of truth.
So what about philosophy then? Because Attar and mystics generally sometimes seem critical of philosophers.
Right, but it's important to understand what they're critiquing. It's not intellect itself. Intellect is a gift. The critique is aimed at philosophers who try to reach God only through external logic, through reasoning about God, rather than through an inner experiential transformation. Attar has lines like, "O soul, you are pure disbelief ignorance in the knowledge of God, and I am ashamed of the philosophy of philosophers, for this treacherous knowledge hinders people more." He's talking about a kind of philosophy that becomes an obstacle, that keeps you stuck in concepts about reality instead of experiencing reality itself. It prevents the dive into the inner sea.
Because the real seeing happens within.
Exactly. It echoes that Quranic verse, "And in yourselves do you not then see? Fi anfusikum afala tubsirun." Rumi says the same. Look within.
But Attar also warns about this inner sea, doesn't he? He says something quite terrifying. Go into this sea, my friend, for thousands of lives are drowned there. That sounds incredibly dangerous.
It is. It's not a casual dip in the ocean, and there's a crucial condition for navigating it safely, or rather, navigating it fruitfully. That condition is purity. Purity of heart. Taharat. There's this really challenging idea attributed to the mystic Shibli. He suggested the very first step on the path isn't even necessarily belief in God, it's purifying the heart.
Purifying the heart before belief.
Yes, because if the heart is impure, full of ego, worldly desires, attachments, resentments, then even outwardly professing belief can just be, well, hypocrisy. It's not real. The foundation isn't clean.
So purity allows for genuine faith.
It allows for sincerity, sidku. That's the paramount virtue here. True faith, iman, has to be born from a sincere, genuine inward quest. Sincerity is what separates the real seeker from the imitator, the muclid. You know, people who just repeat religious doctrines or philosophical arguments without any inner experience, without it coming from their core. The Quran praises men who were true sadaq to what they covenanted with Allah. And there's that call, "O you who have believed, believe anew," suggesting a need to move from superficial belief to deep, sincere faith.
And this connects to seeking.
Absolutely. Rumi talks about this idea of wanting or seeking Kwastan. He says, God actually put the desire for creation into the hearts of the saints, and the world came into being from that sincere longing. Humanity, at its core, is a seeker. But that seeking has to be truthful, sincere, pure for it to lead to reality. Think of Vaisi Bastami saying, "I want to not want." Even that is a profound form of sincere seeking to eliminate all wants except the want for the divine itself.
Cultivating that kind of deep sincerity. Wow, that's a lifetime's work, isn't it? Especially when everything around us seems to pull our attention outward, away from that inner work. It's challenging, but you sense how rewarding it could be. Now, there's another element Attar insists on, which can sound difficult. He talks about pain, dard. He basically says, if you are not of seeking pain and sorrow, don't even bother. Don't step onto this path. And he writes things like, "A speck of pain, O my healer, for my soul cannot remain without pain." It sounds like he's almost asking for it. And that other line, "The disbelief of the unbeliever and the faith of the faithful is but a speck of pain from Attar's heart." What does he mean by this pain? It sounds like more than just ordinary suffering.
It absolutely is. This is one of Attar's most radical and profound teachings. He essentially redefines pain, dard, as the very essence of true love.
Pain is love.
Specifically, it's the pain of separation, darde fera, the ache, the longing, the yearning for reunion with the beloved, with God. This is something unique to beings who experience separation. That's why angels, according to the mystics like Hafez, can't truly understand love.
Hafez said, the angel does not know what love is.
Exactly. Because angels exist in pure spirit, always in God's presence. They don't experience duality, opposition, the distance that creates longing. They don't have this pain of separation. But humans, we live right in the thick of it. Hot and cold, hunger and satisfaction, joy and sorrow, connection and separation. Our whole existence is defined by these tensions. This constant experience of limitation and separation creates the possibility for this profound pain, the longing for the infinite, for home, for reunion.
So this pain isn't something negative to be avoided.
Quite the opposite in Attar's view. It's the engine of growth. It's the catalyst for perfection. There's this concept of bala tribulation, calamity. Mystics often see bala as beautiful because it's what refines the soul. It burns away impurities. Attar uses these powerful images. He says, the wheat doesn't rush from the mill to the fiery oven unless it is worthy of being eaten. It needs the grinding, the fire, or the iron does not become sharp and shining unless it endures the fire of the blacksmith's furnace and the blows of his hammer.
The trials forge the soul.
Precisely. He says, no one nurtured in the desert of tribulation becomes a true traveler on the difficult path of love. You need that transformative suffering. So Attar's pain isn't pointless misery. It's the purposeful, transformative ache of separation that drives the soul towards union. It is the feeling of love in a world of separation.
That is such a different way to think about hardship, about that deep longing we sometimes feel. Reframing it not as something wrong, but as this pain of separation, this engine for growth. How could that change how you navigate your own life, your own challenges? It really gives you something to think about. We've really only scratched the surface today, haven't we? This was just our first deep dive into Attar Nishapur, the start of a much bigger exploration. But we touched on some huge ideas. His enigmatic status, that incredible expression of unity of being in the Simorgh story, the idea of the human soul as boundless potential, pure existence, and then the necessity of the inward path, guided by sincerity and purity, and finally, this transformative power of spiritual pain, the pain of separation.
Just the beginning, really. There's so much more depth in his work.
Absolutely. And as we close this first deep dive, I want to leave you with one more thought from Attar to mull over. He says, my heart sacrificed itself for him and my soul too. And in another place, both worlds are but a reflection of him. His face, apparent and hidden, are one. So given that, what do you think is the fundamental difference, if any, between the heart and the soul on this profound journey of love, separation, and finding that ultimate unity? Something to ponder until we meet again for our next deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive. We're really excited to continue this journey into wisdom with you. Until then, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.